Why do you continue to argue your case to those whose minds are already set? Lao Tzu, the ancient philosopher of the Tao Te Ching cautioned that explaining oneself can lead to a loss of inner balance. When he wrote that those who know do not speak, he was not suggesting silence, but rather advocating against diluting one's essence with ceaseless explanations. A river does not justify its path, it simply flows, molds the terrain, and lets the natural world evidence its purpose. On the Deep Dive Psychology podcast today, this idea is transformed into actionable insight. Discover why overexplaining signals insecurity, how silent conviction commands greater respect than a multitude of arguments, and the Taoist method of allowing actions to dispel criticism as effortlessly as soft water smooths stone. If you're weary of defending your limits, aspirations, or decisions, stay tuned. By the end, you'll know how to replace justifications with quiet, undeniable results, letting explanations fade away. Observe your own conversations for a day and tally how often you begin with phrases like "I only did that because," or "let me explain why." While each sentence seems benign, every explanation subtly undermines your confidence. Lao Tzu would liken it to a river trying to prove its wetness, a pointless, exhausting effort, revealing a loss of your own innate flow. Over-explaining starts as a form of self-defense, a way to control others' perceptions. Yet the more you elaborate, the more doubt you project. You're signaling insecurity, hoping words compensate for actions. But rather than convincing others, you invite scrutiny and obscure clarity with ambiguity. Consider the toll it takes: rapid breaths, tense shoulders, a mind racing to counter non-existent objections. Meanwhile, your work, your craft, your choices, your forward step stalls as you debate its validity. This is the fatigue Lao Tzu warned against, transforming you into an advocate for your own life rather than living it. Consider the toll it takes: rapid breaths, tense shoulders, a mind racing to counter non-existent objections. Meanwhile, your work, your craft, your choices, your forward step stalls as you debate its validity. This is the fatigue Lao Tzu warned against, transforming you into an advocate for your own life rather than living it. Shifting to Taoist empowerment involves abandoning defense in favor of action, allowing tangible outcomes to speak where explanations falter. Lao Tzu proposes Wu Wei, effortless action, not as inactivity, but as doing what is essential with such assuredness that words become redundant. Picture a cat leaping gracefully onto a cell. It doesn't announce the mechanics, it merely lands. That quiet landing illustrates Wu Wei. In practicing Wu Wei, you resist the impulse to preemptively justify choices. Instead of saying, "I hope you understand why I set this boundary," you assert it calmly and move forward. Replace verbose self-promotion with substantive presentations. The action now stands firm where explanations once faltered. Notice how presence transforms when you adopt this practice. Your voice steadies, your posture relaxes, your gaze remains focused. You are no longer pleading for approval but embodying completion. Others sense this shift. Curiosity, not skepticism, follows a genuine interest rather than a demand for persuasion. Wu Wei is not about passivity, it is precision. You conserve verbal energy like an accomplished archer conserves arrows, one precise shot instead of desperate volleys. Each moment you allow actions to bear the message originally burdened by words, you reclaim more of the effortless power Lao Tzu described as the natural way. Envision to colleagues presenting new ideas. One exhaustively justifies his concept with slides, qualifications, anticipated challenges, a hedge for every potential query. The other places a working model before them. Here's what it does. Try it. No defensive prelude, no verbose pitch. Which concept captures the room's attention? The one that can be seen, touched, tested. Tangible results articulate what explanations cannot translate. Lao Tzu would find solace in this scene. For him, action was the ultimate argument. A cultivated garden conveys more about one's love for nature than countless assurances ever could. A steadfast boundary reveals more self-respect than any sermon on expected treatment. In relationships, punctuality, attentiveness, recalling details, these silent expressions convey commitment more emphatically than convoluted promises. Thus, Replace "let me explain" with the practice of demonstrating. Instead of defending the need for a day off, submit an early project and take the day. Instead of proving your dedication to fitness, cover the miles until your posture and energy answer every doubt. Let your life leave footprints, not annotations. Silence is not a void, it is concentrated meaning. Curtail the urge to fill every pause with explanations and witness how the space around you sharpens. People are drawn in, listening for essence rather than filtering out noise. Lao Tzu referred to this as the space between the notes that makes the music. Your quiet creates room for others to engage, respect, and even express their own thoughts uninhibited by yours. It also acts as a discerning filter. Those needing constant reassurance drift away, those valuing depth draw nearer. In conversations, try responding to critiques with a single, composed sentence, then let silence take root. Observe how subsequent dialogue, often from the other party, carries greater significance and sincerity. Withholding excess commentary transforms you into a mirror where clarity blossoms, establishing an evident stance, serene, aligned, and unapologetic. In a world preoccupied with volume, your composed quiet emerges as the clearest message of all. Criticism is unavoidable. Lao Tzu taught that confronting it, directly arguing, defending, correcting transforms accusations into wrestling matches. Withholding excess commentary transforms you into a mirror where clarity blossoms, establishing an evident stance, serene, aligned, and unapologetic. In a world preoccupied with volume, your composed quiet emerges as the clearest message of all. Criticism is unavoidable. Lao Tzu taught that confronting it, directly arguing, defending, correcting transforms accusations into wrestling matches. And the longer you wrestle, the more entangled you become in someone else's narrative. His alternative is elegantly simple: emulate water. Water does not contend with rock. It flows around it, reshaping it over time without a clash of forces. Picture a colleague saying, "Your idea makes no sense." The instinct is to leap in, explain research, quote data, dismantle objections. Yet every argument tightens the knot. You're now tasked with proving yourself to someone who may remain unconvinced. Instead, consider replying with calm acceptance. "That perspective is interesting, let's see the results." Then return to the work. No defensive monologue, no emotional tally. Letting their words pass like a breeze through an open window, they are felt, then gone. The room remains unchanged. What imbues this non-resistance with power? Because accusations thrive on reaction. Engage, and you feed the narrative of owed justification. But by remaining open, you starve that narrative. The critic is left to engage or let go, often softening, occasionally returning with genuine curiosity when they notice your calm resolve. Lao Tzu likens softness to water for a reason. It appears weak, yet it conquers all. A forceful fist striking the river finds no surface to hit, but that same gentle water carves canyons over time. Your composed demeanor does the same to skepticism. It doesn't resist, it redefines. It erodes doubt without hosting a battle, choosing instead to move consistently toward results. Each time you prepare another justification in your mind, whether for a superior, a partner, or an online stranger, pause. Notice where that instinct manifests in your body. Behind your eyes, a knot tightens, your stomach flutters. Lao Tzu would identify this as your internal compass pointing away from the Tao. Noticing it gives you a choice: continue spinning outward or return to your center. This return to center is less esoteric than it sounds. Begin with a deliberate breath, expanding deeply into your diaphragm. Allow your shoulders to relax. In that breath, quietly inquire, am I operating from alignment or fear? Alignment feels grounded, even when it leads to challenges. Fear feels agitated, compelling explanations, seeking approval. If fear guides you, refrain from external actions for 60 more seconds. Stand, roll back your shoulders, tap your heels against the floor. These minor anchoring practices draw awareness from tumultuous thought into the body, where clarity resides. From this composed state, decide whether to speak or to remain silent with maintained strength. Perhaps you opt to clarify, but your words will be concise, factual, unfazed. Or no words may be needed at all, the project, boundary, or action is evident. Either way, you shift from external pursuit to internal alignment, exemplifying exactly what Lao Tzu described as effortless action. Decisions arising naturally from a serene core instead of chaos. The moment you cease justifying every move, something subtle yet definitive occurs, the energy in the room shifts in your favor. It's as if others lean in slightly without realizing why. They perceive a gravitational pull that wasn't present when you felt compelled to explain. Contemplate this notion that when individuals subtly shift forward unconsciously, they experience a new equilibrium absent during the moments they ardently defended their decisions. Though Lao Tzu never uttered the contemporary term confidence, he eloquently captured its essence and internal stability that speaks without proclamation, attracting like a lone candle's glow in a shadowed hall. Reflect on the leaders who naturally command your respect. Their words are few and deliberate, like careful brush strokes, and their silence resonates with comfort, inviting contemplation instead of interruption. This brand of confidence captivates by virtue of its unguarded nature. It neither postures nor amplifies itself but rests assured in its own sagacity, signaling to your body that it's safe to follow. True confidence is understated, a tranquil strength contrasting the noisy bravado of superficial declarations. It's the serene inhale after owning your path. Set boundaries with succinct clarity and choose presence over vigilance. Release your creative endeavors without disclaimers, meeting indifference with equanimity, for their worth isn't tied to unanimous validation. Such poised detachment shifts focus to subsequent meaningful engagements, drawing observers, intrigued by your composure, into a closer orbit. Something peculiar transpires when the grip on your desires relaxes, they incline toward you. Alan Watts likened it to clasping water. Tighten your hold and it escapes. Open your palms and it naturally settles. Detachment clears the space for openness, inviting curiosity and respect rather than distancing. Observe interactions morph when you cease to chase every digital alert. Others inch closer, offer softened voices, voluntarily disclose more. Your tranquility extends an invitation to harmonize with your rhythm. This is the allure of detached magnetism, not silence from spite, but a relaxed presence proclaiming, "I'm content regardless." Join if you wish. It manifests first in bodily expressions. Shoulders ease, eye contact steadies, movements slow. Without utterance, you emanate abundance, enticing through a promise devoid of emotional tether. Intrinsic freedom's allure lies in the certainty it brings. Approach and remain unbound. Experiment subtly to witness this. In heated debates, recline instead of leaning in. Queries naturally find their way to you. During stalled negotiations, state your terms calmly, succinctly, then embrace the silence. The gap tempts the other party forward, understanding that resolution won't be forcibly pulled their way. Detachment isn't apathy. You remain engaged and active, yet do not anchor your identity to outcomes. This release of psychic attachment conjures a gravitational allure stronger than words rehearsed. Others gravitate not from entreaty but from the quiet conviction of your orbit's worth. Transition from theory to practice with for simple habits, each nurturing a readiness to act over the compulsion to justify. First, the one-day silence challenge. Refrain from defending personal choices for a day. Second, the two-breath gap. Pause with breathing before responding, allowing space for deliberate action. Third, the evening scorecard. Tally silent moments, watching quiet confidence evolve through these small triumphs. Fourth, the weekly boundary reset. Confidently set a boundary without additional commentary, letting outcomes speak. Repeatedly practice these until restraint feels innate. You'll find less energy devoted to persuasion and more to living. This embodies Lao Tzu's wisdom: decisive action, tranquil mind, nothing to defend. Cease justifying each choice. Let deeds articulate your intent. The fewer the words, the clearer the strength. Lao Tzu's directive is elementary: flow fluidly, carve effortlessly, explain wordlessly, allowing actions to speak. Here lies your final task. For the next 2 days, rely on demonstrable evidence over appeal. Decide boundary and express without embellishment. Observe the inclination of others as you maintain your serene posture, allowing results to unveil themselves. If you accept this challenge, signal your resolve with the words, "I move in silence." Subscribe for deeper psychological insights that transform timeless wisdom into contemporary empowerment. Speak less, act more. Let the silence carry your influence.